In a time where the juggernauts that were Marvel and Star Wars have put out lackluster to straight up insulting installments, searching for something, for anything, to have
No nonsense.
can be both exciting and frustrating. And speaking from my personal perspective here, it's been more frustrating than anything. Recently, Doctor Who, a once beloved show about a man who travels through time in a police box, as one of my favorite YouTubers, Bolstrek, puts it, made its, comeback. And of course, by comeback, I mean jumped out of the frying pan and right into the fire. Not only did they bring back a beloved doctor and companion in David Tennant and Catherine Tate, but the once revered showrunner Russell T Davies. On the surface, this seemed like some of the best news that could come from a desecrated franchise. Then the first episode of the new series premiered, and, well, I'll let it speak for itself.
Yes, the meep. I promise I can help him get home and then you'll never see me again.
You're assuming he as a pronoun.
True. Yes, sorry, good point. Are you he or she or they?
My chosen pronoun is the definite article. I am always the meep.
Needless to say, this was very infuriating for me. Mainstream entertainment can't seem to stop its path of self-destruction. So many classic franchises have been baptized in the vile Pepsi-filled pool of identity politics. It felt empty and lifeless. Then, out of the darkness, there was a light, a sort of beacon of hope off in the distance. And when it finally arrived, it arrived with a thunderous roar and a message. No matter how bad things get, there's always a balance.
Nature has an order, a power to restore balance. I believe he is that power.
Enter Godzilla Minus One. Now, if you've been following our content since before our YouTube days as the C-Files podcast, you know I've been a Godzilla fanatic since my early childhood. While the franchise had its ups and downs, it did not suffer as much as some other beloved franchises I grew up with recently. So hearing the news that Toho, the original Japanese studio that brought us the original Godzilla films, was making a new film got me hyped. I enjoyed Toho's previous film, Shin Godzilla, which brought the character back to its more terrifying roots as a force of nature. The design of the creature was menacing and unique, especially when compared to previous iterations. Regardless, though, I was heavily anticipating this new story, and more specific, the time period which it would be set in. Without going too deep into spoilers, the film is set in the final days of World War II and afterwards. Like all the Japanese Godzilla films prior, this one focuses primarily on the Japanese people, as they have just endured the terrifying and tragic events of the hydrogen bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And this aspect is very fascinating for me personally. With the exception of a few scenes littered throughout the franchise, this film is set in the direct aftermath of the war and gives us a sort of origin story for the Big G. The way they handle the story is a mix of different aspects from the previous films. Some aspects are similar to the legendary Godzilla films, while also giving us familiar names from the original series. A strong aspect that I commend this movie for is its human story. While the visuals of Godzilla are fantastic as one would expect, the human story is what really drives this film. Once again, without going too deep into spoilers, the film follows Koichi Shikishima, a Japanese Navy pilot who comes back to his now decimated home with terrifying knowledge of an ominous creature that lurks in the Pacific Ocean. Now, the thing with human stories in Godzilla films has been a point of contention among fans for a long time now. You see, there are different camps that view the human aspect of these films in various ways. One aspect prefers more monster action and less human drama, whereas another aspect understands the importance of the human drama and how it impacts the story. From my perspective, the human drama is paramount to the pace and the story. Every aspect of this human story is connected and relevant to Godzilla and its ultimate fate. Put simply, you need the human story to ground the audience and immerse them in the world we are presented with. Reason being, we the audience are essentially put in the shoes of the human protagonists. And the acting is fantastic here. And something that really impressed me was the emotional scenes in this film. There were several scenes that almost had me in tears, and that's amazing coming from a Godzilla film. Now, that's not to say there wasn't anything emotional in Godzilla films previously, it's just that Godzilla films are not well recognized for their emotional drama. These films are known for their giant monsters and insane city demolitions. Speaking of which, how are these scenes? Well, I can say with confidence this movie delivers. Several scenes feature Godzilla destroying several buildings and vehicles in brutal fashion. The CGI used was very good. Now, I'm sure that's one aspect some might not like as much, considering that Godzilla films started and carried the guy in a rubber suit destroying miniature city models aspect throughout the entire series. And while this aspect is missed, the CGI has a nice polished touch that doesn't look too cheap or unconvincing. Everything from the explosions to Godzilla himself are beautiful. Godzilla's design this time around is very nostalgic for me. If I could point out which previous design inspired this iteration of Godzilla, I'd say it's the Heisei era, starting from 1984 to 1995. I'll also give some credit to the Millennium design for the spinal plates. Now, the big question is, does Godzilla Minus One have the potential to bring in more casual fans to the franchise? Well, personally, I'd say that if you want to introduce someone you know to Godzilla, this is a good choice to start them off with. Being that this film serves as a retelling of Godzilla's origins for all intents and purposes, it has strong elements from the original 1954 film, as well as some of the early 2000s films that I would personally recommend for those looking to explore this franchise. With that being said, I'm so thankful this film worked for me, and seeing the different positive responses this film has been receiving, it was a relief. If you're looking for a reason to go to the theaters this weekend, this is it. Godzilla Minus One has almost everything I was looking for in a Godzilla film. With the success that it's gaining as well as the ending, it's a very exciting time to be a Godzilla fan. As for our numerical rating out of 10, I'd say it's a 9. This is a very strong installment in the franchise and a big win for cinema. Hollywood should learn a thing or two from Japan, being that they're kicking their asses in pop culture. So while the Marvels continues its showings with empty seats, Godzilla will be enjoying its much-deserved success. So do yourself a favor and check it out. The King of the Monsters is back and better than ever. So, with that in mind, I want to thank you all for watching, listening, and supporting. And as always, remember, ladies and gentlemen, that there is hope because the entertainment is out there.
Godzilla.
I'm Special Agent Spooky Clutter.
I'm Special Agent Carter Sauce.
Special Agent Dr. Richtofen.
And until next time, fellow investigators, remember,
The entertainment.
The entertainment.
The entertainment.
The entertainment is out there.